CFB Prime, Nino Brown. Netflix decides that they want to put on the rubbers and go swamping, looking for gators with the Swamp Kings. On this episode, shh, blow the damn whistle.
Some of you in the room right now, you are where you are, you're giving 60% when you have 120 in you. Why? Because you've never made a decision. There's those of you in this room, you already there. Your problem is it's the stuff you don't want to give up to go on. Listen to me, pound for pound, any agent in the room, pound for pound, motivational speaker, pound for pound, entrepreneur, pound for pound, athlete, pound for pound, weightlifter, pound for pound, whatever you do, I guarantee you when you do it, nobody can do it like you do it. The problem is you don't hardly do it.
We're back, CFB Prime. I'm your host, Nino Brown, and you know the deal. We're going to take a topic, something that's out there that's hot, and we're going down a rabbit hole. This one happens to be Netflix decides they want to release a new series called Swamp Kings. And we all know from '06 to '09, Urban Meyer and the Florida Gators owned 75% of college football, 2 natties, 50 plus NFL players drafted, and 40 plus student athletes arrested. So Urban Meyer went for the trifecta. What's crazy to me, and it blows my mind, is how Tim Tebow outshined all the chaos for 4 straight years. Not much of this was brought to light until after it was all said and done. If it hit the news, it was like a New York minute. In and out, 10 seconds, you didn't hear about it again. So now Netflix decides they want to dip their hand in the swamp for the latest version of their Untold series, right? But what are we going to get? Are we going to get Manti Te'o and his invisible girlfriends show, or are we going to get the Malice at the Palace? You know, this should sit up right there with the best of them if they're not going to sugarcoat. I mean, the Gators were electric, high flying, high scoring. I'm talking 40 plus points per game. But they also couldn't keep their names out of the police alarm. And oh yeah, you guys are going to get sick and tired of hearing me say this, but it just keeps coming to fruition. This is another nugget by Urban Meyer. In reality, this is probably the original nugget for the comeback party. Because right around when this was getting filmed, everything was going down in Jackson. I told you before, it's not about this move. It's always about the next move for Urban Meyer. But enough about that. Let's just talk about the swamp. Let's reminisce a little bit about the Gators and what this Swamp Kings documentary could be about. My and the Gators coming out party was in '06 at Ohio State in the national championship game when they routed the Buckeyes for 41 points in a 41-14 W. And that '06 team was led by not Timmy Tebow, but Chris Leak. Yeah, a lot of you youngins probably don't even know who Chris Leak is. But Chris Leak threw 3,000 yards and 23 touchdowns. But he was surrounded by speed. And that's kind of like the common denominator in these 4 years that I'm going to talk about, was speed. Speed and Tim Tebow. But I'm not talking about Godspeed. These '06 Gators averaged 29 points per game. But they only allowed 189 points overall in the whole season. '06 saw the birth of Percy Harvin into the college football family. As a freshman, he had 34 receptions, 427 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's pedestrian numbers. But he had 70 attempts rushing the ball for 660 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 7 yards per carry. As my producer KT will say, Urban Meyer was asked a question, who the best running back on the team was at that time, and he said Percy Harvin, who was a freshman wide receiver. All right. On the '06 team, you got flashes of a young Brandon Spikes, but Reggie Nelson was the anchor of that defense. But we also got one of our first flashes of getting in the police log when Lewis Murphy was arrested for a misdemeanor marijuana charge. So then in 07, it was the Timmy Tebow takeover time. All right, say that 10 times fast. Let me know how it feels. He went 234 completions out of 352 attempts. Right, he had almost 3,300 yards, 32 touchdowns. He rushed for damn near 900 yards and 23 touchdowns. So we're talking the double nickel, okay? This is Mike Jordan type stuff, right? This was the reason why he grabbed his Heisman. But we also got, the breakout party for Brandon Spikes. We also got the breakout party for the flash of Carlos Dunlap. We also got the breakout party for Joe Hayden. So we were getting in 07, while Tebow was going to the Heisman and doing his thing, the Gators were struggling a little bit with other teams, but Tebow was taking over, right? They lost to LSU at home. That was kind of like an indication of how the season was going to be, right? 08, turned it all back around. Got a natty again. Tebow went off, and this is where the speed came in. You had Jeff Demps. You had Chris Rainey. You had Emmanuel Moody. These dudes all ran 4.4 or less. I mean, Jeff Demps damn near broke NCAA 07. Like, it was a 99 across the board. You couldn't tackle the dude in the game because you couldn't tackle the dude in real life. Like, to see this in a documentary, to see this electricity on the screen, Netflix better do it right. Because the Gators in those 4 years were everything that any kid that watches college football wanted. Like, you saw Florida State back in the heyday and the U and the swag and all of that. The coach who had an attitude. This was the Gators. They had that. They had the coach with the attitude who was, in a lot of people's opinion, a skis ball, right? You had all these somewhat troubled kids who had troubles getting on the law. You had 2 murder cases. There was just a lot going on over there. But Timmy Tebow, who was captain positive, who was led by, the church, that was his thing. He was a God, led man, and there's nothing against that. He was able to mask it all. They won 2 natties, right? In all of this time, Timmy Tebow fought off Cam Newton, which is crazy in all of it, that he had to change schools because he got arrested for stealing a laptop. Like, who else? Did that happen? Like, come on, it's just trash. But anyway, it ended up working for Cam. He went to Auburn and went out, and we know that story. But Urban Meyer, lackadaisical coaching approach when it came to Florida, it wasn't always like that. He was just odd at Florida. Things in the swamp were just odd. But the arrests weren't odd. They seemed to be a normality. The wins were a normality. The 40 points a year were a normality, because when they didn't score 40, they didn't have a good year. The 1 year that Tebow won the Heisman, I think they averaged 29 points, but they let up a boatload, an astronomical amount of points. So it doesn't work. You can't score less than you give up. When they win the natties, they were blowing teams out. Okay, and there was only 1 year where they only faced one ranked team, so they had a cakewalk 1 year. Fine, whatever. But they were talented. But it was just the way it all got put together. Urban Meyer's crazy approach of like talking down to kids and making these kids feel like however it was, but he got the best out of them, right? You had these troubled kids that he brought in, and all he cared about was, I just want speed and talent. Speed and talent. We can teach the rest. Give me speed. He had that. They won. The rest is what gets me. You had Carlos Dunlap, falling asleep behind the wheel. Not driving, but he was asleep behind the wheel before the 09 natty. Then you had, like I mentioned before, Lewis Murphy, misdemeanor. You had Janoris Jenkins, misdemeanor. You had Aaron Hernandez, murder charge. You had what's his name? I can't think of it. Riley Cooper had a misdemeanor. You had another murder charge for a DB who I believe just is still going through it, just went through it about possibly murdering his wife. He had another arrest earlier. There was a lot of negativity going around, but yet Timmy Tebow and his glow was able to mask all of that. But in 09, when it was Dunlap, and that was the down. Now you're taking all of that. You're taking Urban Meyer's personality. You're taking the positivity, the aura, the glow, the orange glow that is around Timmy Tebow and everything he did, and all the inspiration he did to all these people out there, all these young kids, right? This is what you remember. You remember Tebow. You remember Tebow taking the knee. You remember that was just his logo. That's what he did. But he also won games. He put it on his back. He ran over linebackers. He was in the weight room with the linemen. Like, Tebow mania was real. But so was everything else in Florida. And I want to know, is Netflix going to put this out the right way? Are we going to see all the wild, crazy stuff? Like, I say that the program was the best college football movie ever created, because the program, before they took out the street scene, was what Florida State was. This is what Dion went through. Like, this is what his years after Seminoles, like, they were putting it out there on the big screen. Is Netflix going to put the real product out there on the big screen? Or am I going to be sitting here in the middle of August blowing my whistle at Netflix because you put your diaper on for this one? You pulled the Manti Te'o and his invisible girlfriend for this one. I want to see the dirt and grime. I'm not saying I don't want to see Timmy Tebow and Percy Harvin and the speed, of all these guys. Yeah, I want to see that. I want to see Brandon Spikes take someone's head off. Yes, I want to see that. Okay? I want to see Janoris Jenkins destroy somebody in midair. Yes, I want to see that. But I also want to see all the negative and how they portray it, because there's always two sides to every story. But which one is the media going to allow us to see? Right? Don't, this thing woke. Everybody wants to talk about woke. Just don't put your head in the sand like an ostrich, right? Just do a little research. Don't believe everything you see or they tell you. Go research it. If documentary is only showing you the pancakes part of it, go investigate the trash part. Because there's got to be there's a bad to the good. But I think Netflix needs this. I'm not saying they need it money-wise. I think they just need this. This is going to be the one. This could be the one that puts them back into sports documentaries. It could be the one that continues to grow for them. Or this could be the one that says, that's two in a row that were kind of baby soft. We can't do that. But don't forget, I'm going to leave you with this one last time before we close out CFB Prime. This was around the time when Jacksonville was going through all the Urban Meyer. When they decided they were going to put this together. When they approached Urban Meyer and said, listen, we're going to take this and is this okay? And he said yes. So the comeback train had started when the NFL train had docked. My man's shoes barely hit the ground and he was always on the next one going. If you don't believe me, sooner or later, you're going to understand that I, Nino Brown, at CFB Prime, will blow the whistle on you. Good night.